Top of the morning, fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Deontay Wilder. He responds to Eddie Hearn's comments by calling him classless. Okay, he states that he has no problem with those comments. Okay, and shared some insight in the conversation he had in private with Anthony Joshua. He says, "I feel the same way about him," Wilder said of Hearn when he was informed of the promoter's comments. "He's been classless the whole time. That's why the fight never happened. Of course, his guy getting beat, he's going to wish bad on me." He said, "That's natural. In life, people have wished bad things on me. That doesn't mean nothing to me." He allowed the biggest fight in the world not to happen. He allowed Joshua to miss out on $50 million. "I told Joshua that personally. I told him, you're going to regret allowing someone to dictate your career." Now, time to do some counterpunching. The part where he said Hearn was classless through this whole time, that's why the fight never happened. You know, I think what he meant by that was the sly comments about where he was from. Oh, he's from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Nobody knows who he is. Walking up and down the street. Do you know Deontay Wilder? See, no one knows who he is. Tyson Fury did the same thing, though. So my question is, if Tyson Fury gets beat, will you do that same thing to Tyson Fury? You see what I'm saying? Like, they did similar insults. As a matter of fact, Tyson Fury did it more. You know, he went like, Eddie Hearn asked a couple people in an interview, right? And Deontay Wilder took offense to that. Look, people, Deontay Wilder cannot stand Eddie Hearn. It's almost though as Eddie Hearn promoted him once upon a time like Bob Arum did Mayweather. You know, and then they have this beef that they had something else going on and they knew each other, you know, earlier in life or earlier in their career, and something fell out. That wasn't the case in this situation. I don't know what Eddie Hearn really did to Deontay Wilder, but I will say this. Whatever he did, Deontay Wilder does not like him. Maybe it was calling Shirley Finkel, or, you know, stuff like that. And because he mentioned that, he took offense to like, hey, I don't like that, disrespecting my manager and this, that, and the other. So, you know, and he said, well, this guy getting beat, he's gonna wish bad on me. Okay, well, saying that a person wasn't a champion after he's got beat, that pretty much shows that you're wishing bad on that person, or you're really happy that happened. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he wasn't a champion, no way. It was lies and contradictions. You wasn't saying that before he got knocked out, so why would you decide to say that now? That would be my question to Wilder, because, you know, you obviously wanted to fight this guy, which was the other champion. You know, like the lies and contradictions. I know he was probably referring to the negotiations, stuff that happened in the negotiations. Because, you know, Deontay Wilder's still bitter about that. He's still bitter about that to this day, obviously. If a guy gets beat, and instead of all the money that you knew you could have made, you're talking about how you felt when you had that negotiation situation going on with Joshua last year. Okay, so let me go on. He said, people wish bad things on me. That doesn't mean nothing to me. Hopefully this can be a lesson for Hearn. He allowed the biggest fight in the world not to happen. He allowed Joshua to miss out on $50 million. Well, here's the ironic thing about the $50 million. If the money was there, if the money wasn't there, regardless of where the money was coming from, okay, Joshua, or Team Joshua, turned it down, right? And, okay, that's what happened. Now, you talk of that $50 million as though you were going to get $50 million also at that time, but he wasn't. So I don't see why he was that upset over someone else's dismissal of an offer. They turned down $50 million, but then why in the same breath doesn't he say, well, I turned down $100 million? That's why I turned down $100 million, because I felt I was worth, or something. You know, I don't really get it. You know, the $50 million obviously turned around and was offered 50 plus another 50. So like twice as much money was offered to him, and he turned it down. So to me, that's hypocritical. And this is no bias or anything. If you look at it, you're like, okay, you're mad at a guy that turned down $50 million, right? And that's all you talk about that to this day, but yet you can turn around and do the same thing. That's like double negative. Like, oh, that's why the fight didn't happen. Why? Because Hearn was classless? You know what I mean? Like, this is supposed to be about business. But then yet you can say some foul shit about Joshua after he loses and then, you know, expect anything different. Like, okay, well, it seems like to me you're saying things to really cut off communications with Joshua and a potential fight with Joshua if they felt the same way you felt by being classless. So, hey, these people are being classless, so I don't want to do business with them at all. Okay, but then yet when he loses, you can do the same thing that you claim Hearn did. You know, you see where I'm going with this? So you're mad, you become classless when Hearn says you were classless. Then you say, well, Hearn was classless, right? And then that's why the fight didn't happen. And also he missed out on $50 million, but then you turned down $50 million times 2. So then I'm like, okay. So a person does something that you don't like, so I guess you do it back. I guess that's what I'm hearing. Because you're saying that he missed out on $50 million. And you know something funny about, why does all these channels do the same shit? They say the same regurgitated bullshit story about Joshua now. Oh, Joshua missed out on $50 million. I heard Boxing Ego say that. And I'm like, $50 million? He just made 35. Do you think he gives a fuck about 50? Like, really, I mean, that's like $15 million south of $50 million. Like $50 million was actually 100. Now I can understand it was 100 million because that's a lot of money for one fight, right? That's like that Pacquiao Mayweather type money, McGregor like money, right? Super fight money. But then $50 million obviously isn't that much. It is that big of a deal because even 15 million is like, that's probably what he's going to get. He's going to get more than that on his next fight. So in 2 fights, he can get $50 million. So that's not a big thing. You know, that's not a huge amount of money for somebody like that, you know, that has more money than he can spend right now. So like they use that as like, you missed out on $50 million as though he don't make that already. That's where I'm going with that. And if he's saying that you can miss out on $50 million, what did you miss out on, Deontay Wilder? You missed out on $100 million. So, but it becomes really petty at this point because he's saying, well, you know, I told you you're going to regret, you know, allowing someone to dictate your career. Well, obviously, whoever coached you into turning down $100 million dictated your career. They had a big influence on it, like, obviously. So I don't know where he feels that he can make that type of money again. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, that's just like Floyd Mayweather. When he offered Manny Pacquiao $40 million, right? Manny Pacquiao said, I want 50-50. Kind of like what Deontay Wilder said, really. But now the whole landscape has changed, you know, because now Deontay Wilder, he is so good at emulating the power moves of Mayweather because the same dude that geared or managed Mayweather or advised Mayweather is advising him. So that's typical at this point. But now he's like, okay, I offered him $50 million like that's a big deal. Like Mayweather offered him $40 million. That's not really a big deal when he got knocked out by Marquez and made 23. You see what I'm saying? Like that, like he can pretty much do that in 2 fights, especially Pacquiao with the star power he had back in the day. That's not like a huge amount of money. So if you look at that, their offers are small. You know what I mean? They're pequeña. It's like, that's not a big thing. He's talking, though, that 50 million was 100 million, though 100 million he turned down. So, all right, to wrap this up, he said, I told Joshua personally, I told him, you're going to regret allowing someone else to dictate your career. Look, with Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, we have to admit now that it's more of a grudge instead of a rivalry. Rivals get in the ring and fight. I know that Pacquiao and Mayweather actually eventually fought. And this is after Manny Pacquiao got beat. Okay. And then even when he got knocked out, he didn't fight Juan Manuel Marquez again. So, and they eventually fought. But even after the Mayweather fight with Pacquiao, the bitterness happened. And then Mayweather said, hey, I don't even want to fight you anymore because I don't even believe your excuses. So it got all shitty again. So the animosity came right back. You know what I mean? Like they fought, then they didn't like each other. Now they don't like each other. They're cool now, but that's because Floyd is not fighting them. Floyd has vested interest in Pacquiao because him and his daddy, Al Heyman, promote his career, advises his career on a contract. So, but anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Deontay Wilder's rebuttal. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunched. Peace.